Well, I wonder if you've ever been in a situation like that yourself, where you feel like you have been hard done by, and it's just not fair. Someone's caused you a great amount of pain, inflicted incredible amount of pain on you through no fault of your own, and you've just got to cop it. What do I do with that? And you've got this justified revenge in your heart. Or perhaps you're part of a shady business deal, and someone literally walked off with thousands and thousands of your dollars, and there's nothing you could do about it. Or perhaps someone spread a nasty rumor about you and caused your name to become mud, untruths that people were believing and taking on board. And again, there was nothing you could do about it. Or perhaps you're in a relationship with your partner behind closed doors commits a few indiscretions that hurt you badly. I mean, what do you do with all of that? Because in situations like that, they can eat away at you so much so that the bitterness and resentment can start to build up and it becomes all-consuming. And so you start to dream of the possibilities of payback and rightful revenge. As a matter of fact, we think that's the only way forward. To get myself out of this state that I'm in, I need to exercise my rights, my revenge. That's not the right course of action. That brings no positive outcomes whatsoever. Why would you put another layer of pain on the already pain and make things even worse? The best way to solve it, the course of action, is God's way. You know, revenge and taking retribution into your own hands is not the course of action that God would have of us. The best way to solve it, as hard as it may be, as impossible as it feels sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, is to do this. It's to let it go. It's to lay it down and chase after grace over vengeance. But how do you do that? In the heat of the moment, we can lash out in revenge, can't we? We can do things, we can hurt people, and later, rue the consequences. You see, restraining our anger, keeping it under control, and rushing to grace over vengeance is a gift both to yourself, it's a gift to the person who has originally offended you, and it's also a gift to all of the people connected to both parties. And you will save everyone and yourself a whole lot more pain. And I know people can make our blood boil. I mean, you've had people that have pressed your buttons this past week. You'll have people that have pressed your buttons this week. People that you'll want to repay them back with something. You want to give them one because of their insolence and because of the hurt they've caused you. We all have people that make our blood boil because we all rock around a little bit differently. We see things from a different perspective. What's permissible for one's not for another, and we clash. And so we need people like Abigail in our lives. We need to open ourselves up to the Abigails of our lives. Agents of grace who will speak calm and peace and sense into our lives. We must have ears for people like Abigail and heed the very wise words in James, where it says we ought to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. You see, unbridled anger and revenge can only lead to God's judgment. And certainly, it doesn't produce the righteousness and the goodness that God desires for each and every one of us. And when we allow the flesh to take control of the Spirit, what happens is the fruits of the Spirit that ought to be emanating in our lives are undermined. The fruit of self-control, the fruit of goodness, the fruit of peace. All those good things in our lives. Now you might say to me, yeah, but Mark, come and step into my world just for a moment. Come and stand in my shoes. You don't know what it's like for me. I have been so hurt by somebody or someone's. And it's just not fair. I've been hurt time and time and time again. I've been stood on time again. It's not fair. And you know what? You're right. It's not fair. And I empathise with your situation. Unfortunately, being a part of a fallen world and doing life with broken people means that you will be on the receiving end of some unjust acts and some things that just simply aren't fair. That is life, unfortunately, and we need to be able to deal with that. And you might even be finding it hard to forgive on the back of what someone's done to you. Perhaps it was last week, perhaps it was last year, perhaps it was 10 years ago. And you're finding it really, really hard to forgive. How do I forgive someone that's done A, B, or C to me? How do you do it? I'll tell you how you do it. The first thing is you don't allow those thoughts of bitterness and resentment and revenge to build up inside of you. Because if it does, it'll become all-consuming, and your hatred will start to imprison you. And that's not a space you want to find yourself in, because you can't move forward productively in your life as a result. So what do we need to do? As hard as it might be, as impossible as it feels at times, is to lay it down and let go of your just requirements. Lay it down and let go of your just requirements. What do I mean by just requirements? Well, that requirement that they need to be punished, that they need to hurt like I'm hurting, they need to be taught a lesson, and with some vigour. But rather, we'd find it in our heart to forgive and to place the situation and the person in God's hands, to let it go and be free of the torment. And we remember, of course, in all of this, that Jesus laid it all down for us. He let go of those just requirements so that we might live a full life, that we might be forgiven for every sin that we've committed and will commit, for the gunk and the dirt and the sin in our lives, that can be exonerated as we receive His grace. What a precious gift that Jesus has given each of us. Let's not take that for granted. And you see, as we receive that gift of grace ourselves, we have the Spirit of the living God inside of us, which then enables us to reciprocate and offer that same sense of grace and forgiveness to somebody else. That's how it's possible. If you've got the Spirit of God living inside of you, this is indeed possible. Whatever you've experienced, whatever you will experience, God's grace can overcome it in your life. Lay it down and let go of those just requirements.